Excellent. Okay, so now we have our guests up for the next panel. I take issue with the title, Can Crypto Keep Us Cool? Some of us need crypto to help us get cool in the first place, but I'd love to introduce our moderator, John Ruth, from the Climate Coordination Network and Solar Foundation, and he will introduce our speakers. So, round of applause.
All right. Yes, can crypto keep us cool? As carbon levels soar and biodiversity plummets, we gather at the intersection of planetary crisis and digital innovation. Our soils deplete, our air thickens, our water rises, and our ecosystem unravels. Yet in this perfect storm of environmental collapse, Ethereum's borderless architecture offers an unexpected ray of hope for our overheated planet. We've built networks sophisticated enough to send dog memes across continents in milliseconds, yet somehow can't coordinate to keep our shared home from becoming the world's least comfortable sauna. But what if the blockchain that's been heating up GPUs could actually cool down our communities? Ethereum localism, where global code meets local soil, and the world computer might compute solutions for worlds where we actually want to live. Guiding us through these new possibilities are three pioneers in the space. Sara Johnstone, who helped plant the seeds of Regen Network from its Genesis block, showing us how regeneration isn't just a buzzword, but a buildable protocol. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher, builder of KlimaDAO, whose data-driven vision maps the complex systems where carbon, code, and the community intersect. And Penguin, who is building Azos, crafting the DeFi tools that might finally bridge the gap between crypto prosperity and ecological necessity. Welcome to the conversation that flows between the tokens and the topsoil, where we answer the burning question, can crypto keep us cool, or are we just adding more hot air to the conversation? So I would love for the guests on the panel to tell us anything more you'd like to share about yourselves, and then tell us what you're excited about.
That was beautiful, John. I think one of the things I'm most excited about is that I got to spend time with you and Marcus this week. I've really enjoyed getting to know you both. And I'm also really excited this panel is happening. It is the year of the regenerates, and I think that's something to celebrate. So, thank you, SporkDAO, for making it the year of the regenerates. And spicy take, the regen movement is still very underrepresented, and it's underfunded. And I believe that in order for Ethereum to manifest and catalyze its vision of an invisible garden, we need to see some progress and get some more capital flow to the regenerative movement. We are in a meta crisis, and now is the time to accelerate capital to the projects and people working in the regenerative movement. So I just want to take a quick second and talk about what it means to be a regen for those of you that maybe are less familiar with our little niche subculture and movement. So when we identify as regens, we are trying to move beyond the traditional crypto narrative of perpetual growth and token go up and embrace a new paradigm. So that aligns ecological resilience and social resilience. We need to move to positive sum dynamics. We need to showcase all forms of value that benefit the ecosystems and move away from zero-sum extractive dynamics. I think I'm going to stop there and pass it on. Oh.
Thanks for that, Sarah, and thanks for setting us up, John. Really beautiful words, powerful. I first got involved in climate action using crypto, using blockchain, because I had grown up in Florida and sensed the looming crisis. I sensed what was coming. The waters would rise, and the place that I had always known as my home wouldn't be livable for all that much longer. That hasn't stopped people from moving to Miami, but hey, it's a nice place to visit. But I always felt like I didn't know how to apply my technical skill set to have a meaningful impact on what was coming. And when I heard about KlimaDAO on the Bankless podcast, actually, I got super excited about the possibility of using my technical skills to have a positive impact on the world. For the last 3 years, that's what I've been up to. And we're still going. It's been a long slog. but I'm really excited about what we're building. In terms of what I'm excited about here, the thing that has me feeling re-energized is some difficult conversations, but really important conversations, where people who disagree with each other, who might see themselves as opposed, as on opposite sides of a problem, of an idea, of a movement, can actually come together and have meaningful conversations and connect. Because I do believe that we're stronger together, that it is not about degens conquering the regens or regens driving the degens to extinction. We can work together to achieve more than we could ever possibly achieve alone.
Great, thank you. My name is Penguin. So my background previously was in bioinformatics and cancer diagnostics. One of the key things that I'm excited about now is the acceleration of growth that we have had of adoption of the mainstream. So there's been a large number of traditional finance people that are becoming more interested in tokenization. And so as we talk about RWAs, there's a lot more people that are concerned with how we can improve the world. And so I've seen a lot more major projects that want to help tokenize the rainforest, want to help rebuild the rainforest, and use Web3 to do that. So those are some of my things that I'm most excited about.
Amazing. All three of you really kind of pulling a thread through the regen movement in different ways, and there are these hard conversations that are happening at this conference, but in the world, like how are we going to take care of the places where we live? How are we going to take care of the communities that we live in? And at the same time, we have this amazing technology that might just be the answer to solve for these problems. We just have to come together, and we have to all realize that not only can this technology provide abundance for us all, but it can also provide abundance for our communities and the land and the water. So as we maybe continue the conversation on at this intersection of Web3 technology and blockchain, as it begins to formalize itself in the climate and environmental movement, like where do you see the role of Web3 and blockchain in the climate and environmental movement?
Yeah, so I'll take that one first. So my spicy take on this is that Web3 is actually making more progress than most people, because a large number of traditional people and normies have a hard time getting outside of their own worldview, seeing the needs of other people, seeing the needs of the world. So I see a large part of Web3 of where we not only share our ideals, but we share our beliefs between each other. And so that echoes through everything that we do, where we're no longer thinking about ourselves as the primary action, trying to think how we can get ahead. So in those ways that we build Web3 products, we think about everyone, and we get outside of our own shell so we can help other people and complete what we want, because in our decentralized method, being greedy, being hungry are only things that will help push people away from you rather than build support.
Heard that. So I want to share two ways in which I think Web3 and blockchain can play a role in climate action, environmental action. One is more tactical and sort of what I work with every day. And the other is more strategic, about how we make progress as a society, how we achieve systems change. So tactically, the technology being used for monitoring and reporting, tracing climate action in the real world today is quite antiquated. I'm talking like phone calls, emails, PDFs, wire transfers, very much technology from the last decade, if not the last century. And so there's a very clear opportunity to apply modern web technologies, including blockchain, to modernize those systems. So instead of sending a PDF document, you upload a data stream directly from a satellite provider or a DMRV provider that attests to the fact that your project planting trees in the an integrated rainforest actually did increase the amount of carbon being stored, or actually did restore biodiversity that had been lost. From a more strategic perspective, ultimately climate is a coordination problem. The incentives are not aligned. Each polluter, each country in the world is incentivized to pollute as much as they can because they can develop more quickly, grow their economy, provide a better life for their people. And that's in tension with the fact that the more we emit, the more the greenhouse gas effect rolls on, the warmer on average we get as a planet, and that leads to climate catastrophes in the form of wildfires like we've seen in California, flooding, hurricanes, where I'm from in the southeast. And so if there's one role that I could see blockchain and Web3 playing, it's to help solve this really gnarly coordination problem. It's a bit hard to see from where we're sitting in 2025 how the technology is going to be applied to solve those problems. I mentioned one specific example, but ultimately I think that blockchain's ability to coordinate human behavior on both local and global scales is going to be a really powerful driver for climate and environmental action.
Thanks, Marcus. I just want to riff on that as well. I think that the climate crisis is the single greatest market and coordination failure of our lifetime. And it's pretty scary, but it's also, we're living through a time in the Web3 space where we can be part of some of the solutions. And as someone who's been in the space for about 7 years, I can't tell you how many regen and climate projects I've seen that are not around anymore. And so I think part of what we need, I mentioned capital flow earlier, we need to see funding go to projects that have viable business models. This is super important. In terms of where the movement is at, I wanted to use the ecotone metaphor. So an ecotone is when two bioregions meet. So think about the mountains meeting high desert. This is an area that's super rich with diversity. And I think what's happening in the regen space right now is we have a nexus of different communities and different subcultures and movements that are coming together. And it's a really exciting time. We have the Ethereum localism movement, we have public goods, we have the regen movement, Cosmo localism, all of these groups coming together. And it's a really rich time to be able to plant seeds and continue to help our climate.
Yeah, I think the thread I would pull through all that is, I hear meeting people where they're at to some extent in what you're saying, Penguin. And then as we meet people where they're at, then we can begin to coordinate people, as Marcus is saying, because this technology has this amazing ability to coordinate capital and humans together around new incentive mechanisms. And that's such a powerful It's such a powerful tool for everything we build in this space, but if we put it in the context of huge problems in the world, it's likely the only way these things are going to happen. The governments aren't coming for us. It's up to us. But at the end of the day, it does take funding and support. And so I think the invite as we continue the conversation with all of you out there is come talk to us. There's a bunch of regens and folks at the next stage over. Look for ways that maybe you can get into a project. Maybe if you're a developer out there, maybe there's a project just waiting for the right developer to come in and say, yeah, I could take that big idea you have and I could really execute on it and I could help you build this. Because, as I said before, it really does take all of us. And it is a great economic opportunity. So if at the end of the day, really all you care about is making some money, there's a ton of money to be made in the climate space, full stop. So as we wrap up, got about a little over 5 minutes left. It's been a long week. I know majority of us have probably been here at least a week, if not more. Had a million discussions and things, but what is really resonating for you to leave the audience with? What reflections or things you've learned or anything you'd like to share about this week we've shared together?
Go first. Well, I've realized how valuable it is to share knowledge from fields that are completely outside of the context that we are visiting here. So in particular, I studied philosophy and physics, and I've been trying to share some of the ideas that I learned in my training with people here, and I found them really productive. So I want to share a couple of ideas, concepts that might be helpful. One is this framework, Insiders, Outsiders, and Beyonders. It's from organizational psychology. And the basic idea is that when you're trying to coordinate systems change, let's say you want a corporation to change its privacy policy, or you want to get handicap ramps installed in your local stores, there's sort of three main strategies you can pursue. You can either work inside the system, go get a position in the city government, try to pull the levers of power. You can work outside. You can be in the street. You can write on your signs and go stand in front of the mayor's office demanding change. or you can be outside of the system entirely, beyond, off in a field somewhere, building some new tool. And I would encourage you not to think of these as oppositional roles. Actually, the most powerful way to achieve systems change is for these three groups to coordinate their action and work together. In addition, if you're interested in the climate issues specifically, I highly recommend checking out a book called The Ministry for the Future. It's sort of my guidebook for what we're trying to do here. It's pretty dark, honestly, but it's really interesting and provides a compelling vision for what a world where we actually do manage the planet as a public good, where we do get the climate crisis under control, looks like, and how we might get there using technology, including blockchain technology, actually figures in the book pretty heavily. So yeah, highly recommend checking out Ministry for the Future, and generally go read some academic papers. Go learn about some weird esoteric field that sparked your interest back in college, but you never gave the time to learn about. I think it can be really valuable to cross-pollinate ideas from outside of the blockchain space.
So I think my final thought is along that same line. It's one of my favorite things that Matteo always told me is thinking globally and acting locally. As I said earlier, our ability to grow outside of our own space is critical, but we also need to make sure that we're bringing that impact back to the people around us so we can share and help make the lives around us better, as well as globally.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think what I want to share, I want to give a shout out to SparkDAO. SparkDAO has been really cool this week. They are seeding an experiment that's taking place in the regenerative movement. It's very dynamic. It formed this week as a response to it being the year of the regenerates and the regen folks feeling like they wanted more of a stage to be surfaced on with their projects and beliefs. So I had the humble privilege of being part of the programming on that stage the last few days, and it was really amazing to see folks elevated and projects elevated that maybe didn't otherwise, have a chance to be on stage. The stage should have been streamed, I will say that, but SparkDAO is definitely doing their best, and they are seeding a regenerate commons that's forming, and that's a group of stakeholders that are exploring a process of what it means around the regen movement, what it means for other groups to use that, and I think it's going to be a really interesting process, and I think SparkDAO is really doing the best they can. So I'm just hopeful and excited that they were willing to listen, willing to give us a stage. Thank you for that. And I hope the Ethereum ecosystem really doubles down on its core values. The regenerative movement is such an important aspect of all of this. If we don't have a planet, then we don't have any of our meme coins or tokens. So on that note, it's not about a single project. There's no single project or token that can really save the movement. We're all interconnected, and it's a living, dynamic ecosystem. So on that note, we need to continue to help each other out. I'd love to see more mutual care around the dialogue that's occurring in the space. And I guess I would also just say, while I'm excited that it's the year of the regenerates, I think that this is really just the beginning of the dialogue that is needed in order to really propel the movement and catalyze the space forward.
Well, tough folks to follow here. I think what I want to leave you with as we wrap here the last minute is that it's easy to get overwhelmed when you start to think about something like climate and biodiversities and like a lack of biodiversity and the planet dying and everything that's going wrong around the world. It's so easy to just drop into kind of a dark place. And it's easy to just ignore it because I think people oftentimes feel like they can't do anything about it, so the easiest thing to do is just ignore it. And I think the reason I wear this hat here that says Hope Dealer is that I'm pretty committed to bringing hope to the world, that that you can do something, that every one of us is needed to make this work. That if we want to have a planet where our communities are flourishing, where the people around us are flourishing, everyone plays a part. And so start doing that searching in yourself. What are the little things you can do? What's the little bit of hope you can provide for the people around you on a daily basis? Because sometimes just a little bit of hope is all someone needs to make it to tomorrow. And hope is free, and it only grows. And so I would ask you to join me in being the hope dealer for the climate, for your communities, for the people around you. Continue to be a light in what can be a dark world. So I really appreciate you all for sitting with us. Thank you so much to our panel. And please join in the discussions, and we look forward to talking to you more.